In today's lesson, we're going to learn how to use SketchUp to build a three-dimensional model of a cell. You're also going to be able to label the parts of the cell so you can make a really cool 3D presentation of a cell model. The cell model we're going to be creating is generic, but feel free to make any kind of cell that you'd like for your science class. I'm going to start out making our cell by using the Orbit, Zoom, and Pan tools to zoom out a bit so we've got a nice big space to draw our cell in. Next, I'm going to go to the left side toolbar and find the Freehand tool and click on it. And with this tool, I'm going to click and hold and drag around to create the shape of our cell. This is going to be the footprint of our cell. One note about the Freehand tool, you want to make sure when you come all the way around that you connect the beginning and the end of your line so that you get a face. After that, I'll get the Push-Pull tool from the left side toolbar again, click and release on the newly created face and move it upward. The dimension doesn't matter, we just want to add some thickness to our cell. Next, I'm going to click on the Offset tool and I'm going to click and release on the top face and start moving inward. And you'll see that a new line is created. If I click again, that line is placed. I'm going to repeat this process one more time on this inside line so that I've got some lines that make up the inner and outer walls of my cell. I'll select the Freehand tool and start sketching out the first shape on the inside of my cell. When you do these shapes, you just want to make sure that you connect the beginning and the end of the line. Next, I'm going to use the Push-Pull tool to push-pull up the cell walls and that shape that I just drew. When you're using the push-pull tool, make sure you click and release, make the move, and then click again to make whatever face that you've created three-dimensional. You can see here that adding a little bit of dimensionality really makes our cell look interesting. But let's keep going. I'm going to use the Circle tool and add some circles and spread them around different parts of my cell. To use the Circle tool, just click and release and then click again to make a circle of whatever size you'd like. You might want to rotate here like I'm doing so that you can draw more circles from the top. I'm going to go back to the Circle tool and place a bunch of little circles around on our cell. And again, this is just click, release, move the mouse pointer to make a circle, and then click again to accept that circle at the size that you see on the screen. You're not limited to just circles. Here I'm going to use the Rectangle tool to place a couple rectangles around in my cell. Drawing rectangles is very similar to drawing circles. Click once and release, and then click again to make a rectangle. You can also create a rotated rectangle by selecting this tool. This one is 3 clicks. Click once and click again to set the angle, then click a third time to make the rectangle. So now that you've got all the shapes in your cell, it's time to make them 3D. Select the Push-Pull tool and click and release on each face that you want to push up or pull down. Note that you can push things down into your cell like I'm doing here with these circles. I'm going to do the same thing for these other shapes that we've put in our cell. I'm going to pull them up so that they're 3D. Again, this is just taking the Push-Pull tool, clicking and releasing on each face, moving it in the direction you want, and then clicking again. Now it's time to add some color to our cell. In the left side toolbar, find and click on the Paint Bucket tool. When you do that, a panel on the right is going to slide out showing all the colors that you have access to. Here, I'm going to search for some colors and I'm going to paint the different parts of my cell colors so that they stand out. I'll take some green and click on each face here to make my cell wall a color. You can paint any face, any color you'd like, and it's simply selecting the color from the right side panel, and then in your model, clicking on each face that you want to paint. This is a great way to have a little fun dressing up your model. SketchUp includes a lot of different textures, and you can use them in creative ways. Just because something says it's water, or it's fencing, or shingles, or tile, doesn't mean that it can't be used in a model to dress up a cell. As you're painting your faces, make sure that you're rotating around your model to make sure you get all those back faces as well. At this point, your cell model is probably looking pretty colorful like this one. We want to take it a step further though and label the parts of our cell. On the left side toolbar, underneath the tape measure tool, you can find the label tool. And if you click and release on each of your parts and then click again, you can delete the text that's in there and type in whatever label you want. And you can repeat this as many times as you want for as many parts in your cell as you want. What's interesting about these labels is that they're three-dimensional, so you can orbit and rotate your model around, and you'll see them hovering over your model in 3D. For the last step, we're going to create some scenes. Scenes are pre-recorded views in SketchUp that you can get back to by clicking on them. SketchUp will smoothly zoom in to whatever scene you have set. This can be great for doing a presentation in class. Instead of fumbling around with orbit and zoom, you can click on a preset scene and be smoothly zoomed into the pre-recorded view that you set up. To set up scenes in SketchUp, you need to open the Scene Manager, which is this button on the right side toolbar. When you click it, this panel will slide open. To create your first scene, orbit, zoom, and pan your model to get the view that you want on the screen. After you get the view set up, hit the plus mark. You'll see that that scene is recorded in the Scene Manager. You can click on the name of the scene and rename it if you'd like. Repeat this step for every view that you want. Here, I'm going to get a top view, so I'm going to use the Orbit tool and orbit around until I'm looking down on the top of my cell. I'll click that plus mark to add another scene, and I'll give it a name. I'm going to call this one Top View. I'll do one last view here where I zoom in on a particular part of the cell. I'll get that view all zoomed in, hit the plus mark on the Scene Manager, and there you go, I've got my detail view. I'll give this one a name, and I'll just call it Detail View. Now with these scenes all set up, I can smoothly transition from view to view without having to fuss with the orbit, pan, and zoom tools. Again, this is great if you're doing a presentation for class. Congratulations, you have designed and modeled your first cell. Excellent work.